Christian Wilkins just got released. Sources say Wilkins, after 1 year of his 4-year, $110 million contract, blockbuster contract, one of the biggest in free agency last year, has been informed of his release. He has made $40+ million fully guaranteed anyway. The team is attempting to void some of the remaining guarantees. We'll see what happens with that, if there's a grievance, how it proceeds here. But here's what we know. Christian Wilkins has for sure played his last down with the Las Vegas Raiders. It has been an ongoing saga. The team wanted him to have foot surgery to repair that foot after the first surgery did not take. He refused, did not want to have the surgery. That essentially for the team was not a way forward. Without the surgery, hard to imagine he would have played this year. The team has already paid him $40+ million. They decided just to move on. The new regime, it is just not worth it. So they officially move on from Christian Wilkins, who now becomes a free agent.
That right there from Ian Rappaport, Christian Wilkins. Shocking news when I saw this because I know how good he is, how talented he is, how much he got paid by the Las Vegas Raiders. But Ian Rappaport mapping it out right there. Shout out to our producer, Brendan, for grabbing that video. I think that's a perfect thing to bump in with because we need as much perspective around the Christian Wilkins situation before you go pay the guy, go get him. Why he got cut. And this happens after there was a few days ago, a video of him dancing in the Vegas facilities, no boot on his foot. He suffered a Jones fracture injury week 5 last year. With the surgery, that could keep you up at maximum out 8 weeks. But he was still in a walking boot. And as Ian Rappaport details too, that there was a butting of heads between Wilkins and the Raiders. And Colin, the biggest thing in all of this for me, there might not be a more player-friendly head coach than Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll said, cut him. They have to eat some money, but because of what he did, shout out to the Raiders. I mean, they found it within the contract. They're able to void $35 million in guaranteed money to get rid of him. They made it work. This was something that shocked me. This is something that interests me because the Patriots should go after him. But this is something that also has me curious because, okay, why did he get cut? Because, Mike Vrabel, we, again, respect the team. I respect you. He wasn't respecting the Raiders. And their plan for him to be available for that team. We'll see what Mike Vrabel finds out when he kicks the tires on him.
Yeah, George, this was really shocking for a few reasons. The fact that the contract was as big as it was, the splash last offseason was as big as it was, but this felt less like a cutting ties and more like a public firing, a public you're done. I mean, the wording of the statement that the Raiders put out, I'm going to read it off just so I get it verbatim. There is no clear path or plan for future to play. That's what they thought. They might have had their reasons to do so. I'm not entirely sure how above board this one was. Wilkins immediately using the NFLPA to file a grievance. My personal opinion, I don't think they're going to be able to hold out that $35+ million that he had guaranteed if they're able to. In my mind, what is the point of the NFLPA if not to protect the players? But overall, the key thing
they like going to Magic City and Tootsie's, to be fair. They like going to strip clubs, apparently.
Well, you know what? I think that the key thing here, not to completely jump past that, George, but I'll jump past it. The key thing here is that, is he healthy? And can he pass a physical? Is he going to be able to get on the field at some point this season? If the grievance ends up working out in favor of Christian Wilkins, the money is going to be about $8 million this season and over $25 million next season. If the Patriots want to offer him a pretty short deal and have that money be the main driver of the income and add on a little bit on top, that's pretty low risk and pretty high reward. And George, we can break down what this defensive line is going to look like if Christian Wilkins joins. It would be fearsome and then some. Yep. And I think that's why we're both in lockstep here of why Christian Wilkins would be a good fit for this team, especially with the Mike Vrabel connection we'll talk about here in a second. So this is really shocking. It is very Raiders coded. I mean, you think about the Raiders and their blunders in terms of huge signings. This is just another in a long list of those. So I think that if the physical checks out and the money checks out, this is going to be a really great fit for the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders, when they signed J.C. Jackson, that didn't work out. When they went inside, now Christian Wilkins, $78 million guaranteed. And to me, it was worth it. You pair him up with the Max Crosby. He was phenomenal with the Miami Dolphins. He was always available. He was always there, blowing up the interior of the pocket. proven pro player. And that's right. With the Raiders, like the most ice cold statement ever, I have it up too. This franchise has a commitment to excellence on and off the field with no clear path or plan for future return to play from Christian. With no clear path or plan for future return to play from Christian. They name him. And they basically say, we've laid out everything. We have the trainers. We have the team doctors. And as Ian Rappaport was saying, there was not an agreement on the surgery. And this is a common injury. It's kind of difficult when you're that big to come back from, but is with no clear path or plan for future return to play from Christian. This transaction is necessary. That says a lot.
I think that
if his foot's healthy, who is the person you get?
I think if the grievance doesn't work out, it sets a pretty dangerous precedent when it comes to coming back from injuries, when it comes to players knowing what it takes for them to get back on the field as opposed to teams. I think also about the Jack Eichel situation in Buffalo, obviously kind of flip-flopped because Eichel wanted the surgery and the team didn't let him. And you think about Jack Eichel, he ended up choosing himself, going to Vegas and winning a cup. So, hey, if that is the blueprint here, maybe going to the Patriots is going to be a good thing. But I just think it always comes down to this, the player, their knowledge of their own body and what is best for them and what the team wants them to do. And in this case, it seems to me the team didn't want Wilkins to do this, and they went and they found this kind of loophole to get the guaranteed money off the books. And they put out this statement that felt very, I mean, it was obviously targeted, but it felt very targeted. It felt very, we are done with you, and we want everyone to know exactly why. You said they named him in the statement. You don't see statements like this out of NFL teams very often.
Yeah, and it's also something that, and I did joke about it, but like Lloyd Howell Jr. got himself fired because he was expensing strip club trips on the company dime and saying JC Treader resigned and he tried to say, blah, 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 fall in the sword. No, dude, like he did an awful job and he was probably doing backdoor deals, allegedly, maybe. But there is a void now in leadership at the NFLPA. And that's when this stuff matters. And I don't want to get into like nerdy NFLPA talk, but it's also where, again, Christian Wilkins suffered this injury in week 5. We've seen recoveries from this injury in 4 to 6 months, as quick as 8 weeks. Now, he's a big dude. And when you're pressing off that foot, taking on an even larger dude, because that's what he does interior defensive line, there's a lot of wear and tear on that foot. But if there's a disagreement between rehab and surgery, and if he's not following up on the proper treatment, you could do stuff on your own outside of the building. Stephon Diggs, the fact that he's a full participant coming off a torn ACL he suffered just over 270 days ago, he was following the plan. So that's where, if the Raiders have it, and I don't think they would do this, cut him, let him go if they didn't have the receipts. And again, like on their side, they have the lawyers that they know what they're doing, that they are ready to probably go to battle. And again, with Pete Carroll, very player-friendly head coach, one of the best when it comes to that. And he's willing to let Christian Wilkins be cut and released. And the Raiders are confident that they will not have to give him that $35 million. Then this will be interesting. So let's now pivot to, what do you think it would cost the Patriots? Are you concerned about the foot? And what do we see the fit? This cost is what's interesting, Colin, because, all right, the guy was due $35 million guaranteed. He missed out on that. He's still 28 in his prime. He's not even 30 yet. If he can get paid again, I mean, he can cash in with a, let's say, $60 million guaranteed contract. This is where all of these general managers, owners, head coaches, they talk with one another. For the most part, they have good relationships. Team doctors, same thing too. If you just think of general manager, head coach, and like a head team physician, right? All of those guys are one of 32. They're one of the 32 NFL teams that have that role. They all talk, and they're all going to be inquiring about Christian Wilkins. And you would bet the Raiders now, the Patriots, let's put them in this perspective. They'll be doing their homework, getting different perspectives. Mike Vrabel commented on it. If they don't like what they hear, then that would drive down his market. And this is a guy that might be hoping to get, I don't know, a deal that can give him up to $20 million this season. That's what makes this interesting. Money-wise, for a lot of teams, it could make sense. Do you want to sign up for someone, though, that isn't fully bought in to be available for your team?
And the Patriots have the money to play with, so they are at an advantage on that end, George. I think the interesting thing here is that you mentioned it, that these coaches talk to one another. Pete Carroll's a pretty player-friendly coach. I saw a report earlier today about this news. Diana Rossini said that one head coach is concerned about the foot because the Raiders were that concerned about the foot. Have to imagine that's because of communication between Pete Carroll and other teams that are inquiring about his status. In terms of money, if you're the Patriots that have invested so many millions of dollars into this rebuilt defense at this point, and you talk about Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, that these players are coming in that have a lot of veteran presence, Carlton Davis as well. I think it's worth at the very least seeing where Wilkins is at and what kind of contract he wants. But to me, it all hinges. You got to have a physical. You got to see exactly what the timeline is. If the timeline is, I'm ready for week 1 and, you're not showing ill effects, or if the timeline is, you got to get this surgery right now, maybe Wilkins won't even want to join a team that says that, and it's an 8-week timetable from right now, you're still in a pretty good spot. So I think that there is absolutely no harm in seeing what the cost is right now, but you got to do your due diligence. You got to do your homework on where he's at with his injury status. And again, I'll say it, you toss in Christian Wilkins in this defense, you're able to kind of rotate guys around in, Mike Vrabel's base 3-4 that he said he's going to do about 20% of the time. And then they're going to start to modify that. You get Wilkins on the interior, that is going to be an absolutely formidable front on defense. You and Travis, George, talked about how good the defense has looked in these padless drills against the O-line. How good is this defense going to look with one of the best interior tackles in the game? Look at his breakout season in Miami, tallied 9 sacks. If that Christian Wilkins is on the table for this season, oh boy, that's going to be huge for this Patriots team. But it all starts with doing your due diligence first and seeing if that actually is a plausible scenario for this year.
Here's Mike Vrabel. He was asked and did comment about the Patriots' interest in Christian Wilkins. Listen to it right here.
Well, I think we'll have a conversation. Again, this is pretty new. So I don't have all the information on what where Christian is. I've known Christian. I've recruited him when he was up here in the area in Connecticut and going to high school. So, I'm sure we'll have a conversation about it.
So that's Mike Vrabel going, look, and he, recruited the guy. Obviously goes back to Mike Vrabel's ties with the college game. And he's talking about, there's also history. Terrell Williams did coach Christian Wilkins at one point in Miami as well. They're going to have their insights. Now, I wonder with the Raiders, it's twofold on this happening. There's the disagreements with the rehab, with the surgery. Then there's also the understanding of what that injury could be and if he's available at all. And if they did not think he's going to be able to play this year, that might lead to, again, with all of it too, I just think if a guy is ignoring rehab, if a guy is ignoring treatment, and if a guy is pushing off surgery and not doing what's best for him, that's a reflection on him and the people that advise him around him, like a reflection on the circle. The Patriots will find this out. What I do love hearing, though, Colin, and this is where Mike Vrabel, a guy that is an alpha in every room, but wants to be the leader when it comes to personnel decisions, this is when it pays off. Because we just heard, basically, from the New England Patriots general manager right there, Mike Vrabel, saying, yes, we're going to look into a guy that if he's playing and healthy and locked in is one of the best at his position. Yeah, we're going to inquire on that. We're going to look into that. So just brushing it off of, well, we're not going to talk about any of the players that are not here. I'm just worried about training camp with the Patriots. This is what's important for Mike Vrabel is that he's like, yeah, I'll look into it. That guy hit the open market. Let's find out what we can get. And to your point, he would be a rotational piece, same exact role and usage as Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. You put him next to a Joshua Farmer as a second-line defensive line. At one point, all three of those guys would be paired up, Williams, Barmore, and Christian Wilkins. You would have the best interior defensive line in the NFL. It's a matter of Christian Wilkins' foot and how locked in he is in the football, though. That's where it all comes back to. Who are you getting when it comes to the guy between the ears, not just the guy on the field?
And I love what we heard from Mike Vrabel, too, just attacking it as the player-first coach that he is, attacking it the fact that he knows Christian Wilkins as a human being and he recruited him and his coaching staff knows him. I think that's really great for just the overall culture of this team. I really love the Mike Vrabel sound bites just because I said it earlier. He's a no-nonsense guy. He'll cut right to the point. He's not going to be wishy-washy about it. He's not going to say we're on to Cincinnati about it, right? This is a guy that is going to say what he thinks when he thinks it. And in this specific case, I think this is a pretty good fit, again, if Christian Wilkins can get on the field, and to your point, if he can kind of be right in with the system and lock in with this system too. So it's a really interesting thing just because of the circumstances surrounding this with the grievance that's new news here today, with the statement that was released as well. There's a lot swirling around this whole issue. But if you cut through that and focus on the football, if Wilkins can get on the field, if they can agree on a number, you said it. This is going to be one of the best D-lines in the entire NFL.